Recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios Brisbane on 102.1 FM and broadcast across Australia on the Community Radio Network.
You're listening to Z Games. With 10 years experience and over 500 episodes, Z Games brings you the best in gaming news, reviews, community and culture. Want to reach out? Message us on Facebook at ZEVGamesAU.
You're listening to Z Games, and my name is Evie, and I'm here with
Zara, Maylee.
Woo! Another fantastic week of gaming news and gaming things. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah, I'm pumped. It's a jam-packed episode tonight.
Yeah, we've got a lot to go over.
Get hyped.
Yeah.
We do, and also because we're leading into Halloween, which don't worry, devoted Z Games fans out there, we will be having another Halloween-themed episode this year with lots of spooky tracks and lots of spooky games to talk about. So hang in there. But also, to warm us up for Halloween, we actually have Paul. He's not in the studio tonight, but he has done a creepypasta on a Zelda game. You may have heard of Ben Drowned. It's a bit of, I guess, folklore now.
Yeah.
But we'll hear that later on this evening. We also have the Week in Gaming News, which is going to be packed because Adrian, who used to be part of the show, who now works for Alienware, their press release team, he sent me some pretty cool research recently conducted on the Australian population and social distancing and games. So we'll have a look at that too. But yeah, that's the episode.
Yeah. We also have
oh yeah, Maylee. Sorry, we also have Maylee.
I'm here.
Yeah. Just stroking your own hair. Maylee's also talking about Drake Hollow.
I'm very excited.
I'm
and
excited.
If you are not excited, dear listeners, you should be, because it's very good.
You better get hyped.
Get hyped.
I totally forgot to mention it because I've just got even the first half of the show, there's so much happening.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot.
But I've seen you signing in on Steam regularly.
I was researching
for
my review.
Isn't that great when you
Researching.
Can be like, I'm working, and it's like smashing the keyboard. Like,
Maylee's been working very hard just for you, dear listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, you know, we're going to hear about Drake Hollow, and I'm pumped for that. Also, Maylee's finishing uni on Halloween. You're done.
Yes.
Realistically, done forever. Done.
Hopefully.
Everybody fingers crossed.
We'll see how these last 2 weeks go.
And then cheer on Maylee. All right?
7.0 GPA. Here we go. Let's see it. Maylee, you can do it. Well, yeah, that's cool. I think it's time that we head into the Week in Gaming News. This week in gaming news, Crucible cancelled. That's right, Amazon's free-to-play multiplayer shooting game that just recently had a closed beta has been axed. Crucible was first launched in May after years of development. It was then pushed back into a closed beta in July. The developers will be hosting a final playtest, or more like a community final play experience, in the next few weeks. The company is also offering a full refund for any purchases you may have made. In a blog post, the Crucible team have said, "We very much appreciate the way our fans have rallied around our efforts, and we've loved seeing your responses to the changes we've made over the last few months. But ultimately, we didn't see a healthy, sustainable future ahead." Apple deletes all of Epic Games from the App Store. You may have heard that Apple is having a feud with Epic Games. Well, Apple have now stepped up their game by terminating the developer's account on the App Store, thus removing all of its games. Previous to this happening, Apple did warn Epic Games that this could become a reality should they fail to adhere to the App Store guidelines, which was a move that Epic said would cripple the Unreal Engine. Following this lengthy lawsuit, filed originally by Epic Games seeking preliminary injunction, Apple has now followed through with that very threat. A statement from Apple says, "We are disappointed that we have had to terminate the Epic Games account on the App Store. We have worked with the team at Epic Games for many years on their launches and releases. The court recommended that Epic comply with the App Store guidelines while their case moves forward. Guidelines they've followed for the past decade, until they created this situation." Some good news now. The UK National Video Games Museum has been awarded a grant to secure its survival. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, the UK's only museum dedicated to video game culture and education has been threatened to be permanently shut down. However, the Arts Council of England's Cultural Recovery Fund has jumped in to hopefully keep it for another 6 months, thanks to the £200,000 that was raised by Just Giving earlier in the year. Ian Livingston, chair of the BGI charity that governs the museum, has said, "The generous funding for the nation's cultural organisations, including the UK's only museum dedicated to video games, is very much appreciated. It was a great relief to learn that our educational and cultural programs will be able to continue in Sheffield for the foreseeable future." That's all this week in gaming news.
There you go, Week in Gaming News. Congratulations to the museum for being able to run for hopefully another 6 months, but hopefully longer as well, because anything that preserves gaming history, I'm all for. Sad about Crucible. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on
Yeah,
that.
I can't say sad
like-
about Epic Games.
Yeah, well, Epic Games have been deleted too, pretty much. So
Just a fact.
a lot of things deleted this week.
Big old sad emoji.
But in lighter, more interesting news, Alienware Gaming and Social Distancing Survey. So I'll just fill everyone in a little bit on what this is about. So basically, over the course of 5 months, people all around the world, started socially distancing, and Alienware took it upon themselves, or Dell Technologies, maybe you know them as that as well, took it upon themselves to run a survey in which they did a sort of local report on Australia that explores people's behaviours and attitudes to gaming during the COVID-19 pandemic. The research surveyed more than 1,000 Aussies over the age of 18, exploring the changing habits and sentiment around gaming, discovering that while more than half, 55%, of Aussies played video games before the stay-at-home restrictions. And so gaming has therefore obviously increased in popularity since then. So we've been sent this report, and it's pretty cool. There's some pretty astounding findings, especially relating to the games industry in Australia and how the general population perceives it now.
Yeah.
All these stats to me are very positive and very heartwarming. There are over 750,000 more Australians playing video games now thanks to social distancing. So that's roughly 4% of our population now also play video games regularly. But there's also some other crazy stats. What else have you been reading, Maylee? Because there was also on average, Aussies spent 6 hours a week playing video games during COVID restrictions. But we all laughed at that because it's like, well, as an avid gamer, 6 hours is very small amount of
I
time.
think we're outliers though and should not be counted.
Yeah, but it's a pretty big improvement.
Yeah.
It's an improvement.
Good
Good
work,
work.
Australia.
Yeah, consuming more of the medium. I am very proud of you. 70% of those who embraced gaming since March will continue to play their video games with their friends and family even long after social distancing ends. So that's fantastic. We've got all these. We've raked you in, and now you will stay.
I like that Queensland is apparently the state that had people spending the most time playing video games.
Queensland has spent the most time playing games during isolation, with all states contributing in some way to the industry. So New South Wales leads in the use of video games to socialise and stay connected with friends and family during social distancing. Victoria have also... Parents of Victoria were more likely to play online games with their kids since embracing games during this time as well. That makes sense. I was saying before, I was like, I feel like Victorians are very progressive like that.
I am imagining a bunch of parents being taught how to play Fortnite by their 8-year-old.
I mean, hey, it happens.
It happens.
Yeah. And kudos to them.
I wish them many victories.
Yeah, me too. Congratulations, King of the Hill. That's whatever. So more on the stats. So parents in gaming, 73% of parents now see gaming as a safe,
social activity that helps their children connect with friends. Yes, this is the best stat. It's my favorite stat.
Yep.
It's really good.
I feel so validated right now.
Yeah. The stigma around video games in this country has had a massive shift during COVID, and that's what most of this survey sort of points at, is that things are changing.
Take that, Mum and Dad.
Yeah.
Video games are safe now.
They're safe.
Not lame.
I think also a part of it is because, everyone was stuck indoors, and video games is probably the most active kind of medium you can get into. So because a lot more people are like, all right, I'll give it a go. Now they're understanding the appeal better, Yeah. It's not so mysterious anymore.
But also, I think, which we were talking about before coming on air, was that Animal Crossing was so fortuitous in its release because it's a game that was very easy to assimilate all generations, so age, and because of that, it sort of enabled people who were less likely to pick up a Nintendo Switch or whatever. It sort of drew them in because it's a child-friendly game as well. It's something for everyone. And also because it's a game that heavily revolves around routine and logging in regularly every day at some point, it sort of created a regular system for family to connect as well. Hey, do you want to catch up and plant some flowers together? Or, it's cool.
Be surprised if Animal Crossing accounted for a big part of the parents that were playing with their kids, because you can have multiple people on the one game.
Yeah.
They probably just sat down, started playing.
Yeah.
And were like, oh, video games are fun.
Yeah, I know Rani was playing with her family as well, so
Aww.
it was very sweet. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I will also, if you want to take a look at all the stats, because there is a lot that they've reported on, you can head over to Alienware's Twitter page at Alienware. Ware as in Ware. You can take a look at their stuff there. They've got lots of links to all their research. So yeah, check that out. You're listening to Z Games, and we're about to now head into a segment that's sort of a bit of a teaser leading into Halloween. So this game it's based on Zelda, but it's not a game. It's about some spooky, creepypasta stuff, and Paul has done the honors of formulating this incredible narrative to tell around Ben Drowned. So without further ado, I'm going to click the button and we can listen to Paul talk about Ben Drowned.
Welcome, geeks and ghouls, to Mario's Creepypasta Restaurant, where we serve up all manner of terabytes. Today, we present you the tale of the haunted Majora's Mask cartridge, or as it later became known, Ben Drowned. Enough of that. There have been many spooky urban legends in the world of video games, but in the age of the creepypasta, perhaps the most prolific was the story of Ben Drowned by Alexander D. Hall, or as he's known in the story, Jad Usable. The story begins with Jad Usable going to a garage sale where he meets an old man who hands him a copy of Majora's Mask on an unlabeled cartridge with simply the word Majora written on it in Sharpie. The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free, that it used to belong to a kid who was about my age that didn't live here anymore. There was something weird about how the man phrased that, but I didn't really pay any attention then. I was too caught up in not only finding this game, but getting it for free. I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical, since it looked like a pretty shady cartridge and there's no guarantee it would work. But then the optimist inside me interjected that maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game, and that was all I needed to be back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man, and the man smiled at me and wished me well, saying, "Goodbye then." At least, that's what it sounded like to me. All the way in my car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine, and there was one save file named simply Ben. "Goodbye, Ben," he was saying. "Goodbye, Ben." I felt bad for the man, obviously a grandparent and obviously going senile, and I, for some reason or another, reminded him of his grandson, Ben. The story continues with Jed Usable starting his own game and playing through Majora's Mask, but finding that often the characters will refer to him as Ben. Eventually, thinking it's a bug with the game, he deletes the save file of Ben and continues playing, but now characters just call him nothing at all. Eventually more glitches happen, he's transported to a part of the world with no characters in it, he's pursued by a statue, and he finds himself in an encounter with the Skull Kid on top of the clock tower. As the death screen played, my lifeless body still burning, the Skull Kid laughed and the screen faded to black, only to have me reappear in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body lifted off the ground by some unknown force, and he immediately burst into flames again, killing him. This time, during the death screen, the faint sounds of the reverse Song of Healing could be heard. On my third and my final try, I noticed there was no music playing this time, and there was an eerie silence. I remembered that in the original encounter with the Skull Kid, you were supposed to use the ocarina to either travel back in time or summon the giants. I attempted to play the Song of Time, but before I could hit the last note, Link's body once again horrifically exploded into flames and he died. As the death screen neared its end, it began to chug, as if the cartridge was trying to process a lot of something. When the screen came to, it was the same scene as the first 3 times, except this time, Link was lying on the ground dead in a position I had never seen in the game before. His head tilted towards the camera, with the Skull Kid floating above him. I couldn't move, I couldn't press any buttons, all I could do was just stare at Link's dead body. After about 30 seconds of this, the game simply fades out with the message, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before kicking you out to the title screen. Upon getting back to the title screen and starting again, I noticed my save file was no longer there. Instead of Link, it was replaced with Your Turn. Your Turn had 3 hearts, 0 masks, and no items. I selected Your Turn, and immediately when I did, I was returned to the clock tower rooftop scene of my Link dead and the Skull Kid hovering over, with the Skull Kid laughing, looping again and again. I quickly hit the reset button, and when the game booted up again, there was one more save file added. Below Your Turn, entitled Ben. Ben's save file is right back where it was before I deleted it, at the Stone Tower Temple, with the moon almost crashing. I turned the game off at that point. I'm not superstitious, but this was way too effed up, even for me. I haven't played it all day today. Hell, I didn't even get any sleep last night. I kept hearing the reverse Song of Healing music in my head, and just remembering the sense of dread I felt exploring Clocktown. I drove back to the old man's house today to ask him some questions with a buddy of mine. No way I was going there alone, only to find that there's a for sale sign in the front yard, and when I rang the door, no one was home. From here the story starts to get a bit bonkers, but nothing that we're going to cover here, because Ben Drowned is a significant piece of modern horror fiction that I shouldn't simply just not spoil. It is actually quite hard to spoil due to its very nature. Along with the original 5 chapters released in 2010 were a number of gameplay videos to support the story. These were created via hacked ROMs and editing. Then the next phase of the story started, with fans discovering a website about the Moon Children, who were mentioned in the original story. This second phase transformed the tale into an alternative reality game, or ARG, where the fanbase could actually influence the story in several ways, including uploading their own videos of Zelda gameplay, which often decided the fate of characters in the story. Eventually, it grew too popular for creator Alex Hall to support by himself, and he broke character to talk to the fanbase. The overwhelmingly positive response and donations allowed Alex to continue work on the project, which completed in 2011, and he began to plan bigger things. A Ben Drowned video game was planned, and a film begun production, but ultimately both these projects faded away. It seemed it was the end of the story. Then on March 17, 2020... You felt it too, didn't you? You couldn't put your finger on it, but something about the start of this decade felt different. Think back, the past few years humanity has been addled, steeped in darkness and confusion. The world lines have become convoluted. Events are now remembered differently, little synchronicities fluttered back and forth. Now the timelines are beginning to merge. Regardless of any decision made now, each timeline is on its own path. Nothing will change the course it is on now. What comes next? A gradual awakening of consciousness that cannot be stopped after this point. Why do you think you were born when you were? Why do you think you were born where you were? Out of all the possible timelines, out of all the possible time periods, you happen to be born in the most historic one of them all. Can you feel the center of your forehead tingle? It's coming. The apparent final act of this story is happening now. There's a lot to catch up on, but if you want to be involved in the ARG, or just enjoy a spooky world, now might be your best chance. Well, my bits and boos, I hope you enjoy your new friend Ben, but that's all we have time for today. Join us next time, maybe, if we ever do this again. I don't know. Bye!
Thank you so much, Paul. That was awesome.
That was a delight.
It was a delight. And creepy.
Yeah.
Super creepy. Yeah, so if you're interested in getting to know a bit more about Ben Drowned, I have just put up on the Zed Games Facebook page at ZEDGamesAU a link to Judd Usable's Patreon, which is on his Patreon there. You don't have to subscribe or anything or become a patron. You just can click on some links there that will take you to a Discord channel, as well as some Google Docs and a whole bunch of other timelines and the fan wiki about Ben Drowned. So you can take a look at all of that from that link, that one link there. I don't actually know too much about it, but Zara has a little bit of knowledge with it.
Just a little bit.
Enlighten us.
Enlighten.
Yeah, so as we know, it's based in the game Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, which is already quite a creepy game.
Yeah.
A lot of the Zelda games have a bit of an eerie tone to it, some dark themes, but Majora's Mask is a little bit iconic in that it just jumps feet first, head first into Spooktown. And time has a big factor in it as well.
Yeah, well.
So that makes it quite a very good setting for Ben Drowned. And I originally heard about Ben Drowned in 2012, and
so this has been running for a decade almost. Long time.
And I remember when I first read it, I loved it. It's one of those things where you have to suspend your disbelief to really get into it, but it makes it super easy to do that. And the community has done just a great job, just summarizing everything that's been going on, because it is quite a long story. And like Paul said, it's not really something that you can cover just in one 10-minute segment on a radio.
Yeah.
But it's very spooky.
Hence the link to all the other links. There's also Judd Usable's YouTube account too. Judd Usable, so it's JAD Usable.
Yeah.
You can take a look there. He's the original author and creator of the fanfic that is Ben Drowned. Yeah, that's creepy stuff.
Yeah. I love that it's getting continued.
What did you think about it, Maylee?
I am intrigued.
Intrigued?
Yeah, I genuinely had never heard about it until Paul was like,
I do think
yeah,
I do think we've mentioned it before on the show, long before this crew. I do remember Ben Drowned being mentioned as a spooky creepypasta thing that we've done previously.
It's one of those things that
it gets around as well, and it's been around a long time.
I
so.
was never hip and cool with the creepypasta.
Yeah, I'm not into creepy things.
All of that.
No. But I'm actually really excited for you, because if you so wish, now you can actually dive into it before the final act is finished. So
and
you
I've
can just,
been provided with all the links.
Yeah,
It's made so easy.
It's a bit like, when an author just stops at the second book or whatever, and it's one more book of the trilogy he's got to write, and it takes 8 years for him to finally do that. And you're like, God damn. But then if you're introduced to this series just as the third book comes out, you're like, ha-ha, ahead of the game.
It's great.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Paul, so much for some creepypasta on Majora's Mask and Ben Drowned. Maylee is about to give a review on Drake Hollow, so I'm going to pass it right over to you. Take it away.
So, I'm really excited to review Drake Hollow, because I don't know if you remember, but it was the second game I reviewed on Zed Games was Flame in the Flood,
Yes.
which was made by the Molasses Flood game studio, and this is the second game that they've put out in the world. And I knew they were working on it, but when I did that review, I realized, oh, it's coming out soon, and I got really excited. I've been waiting ever since then for this day.
Yeah, I know. I've been seeing you playing.
It came out on the 2nd of this month, so it's been less than a fortnight, and I already have 30 hours.
Respectable.
Yeah.
Dedicated.
Yeah. Okay. I should actually talk about the game, though.
Okay, all right.
So, in Drakehollow, you play as a human transported to a mystical world that's plagued by feral beasts and dark forces. You are tasked with helping the adorably helpless vegetable folk known as Drake. This is hardly a burden, though, because they are so adorable. Like, so adorable. And you grow them and they get bigger and they just get more adorable. In addition to fighting monsters and defending them, you need to build a home that can support the Drake's needs, hunger, thirst, energy, and entertainment. Yes, they can literally die from boredom.
Wow.
Yeah. You have to search the world for resources to craft with, fill your base with gardens, beds, wells, solar panels, puppet shows, and pinball machines. You can spend an hour rearranging until it looks just right, and then repeat the whole thing. It's that classic survival gameplay, but it's distinctly Drakehollow. As you progress through the story, you will be periodically transported, along with your drakes, to a different region of the blighted world, each more difficult and more rewarding than the last. Each region you visit spans more than a square mile and is procedurally generated so it will be unique from any other. Over the game, you will play through the seasons, each of which paint the world in its own vibrant palette. No matter what season you are in, the visuals of Drakehollow are fantastic, magical, and unique. It's a colourful, cartoony world scarred by destruction. The blight monsters that you fight are a great juxtaposition to the cute drakes, but they still fit naturally within the world. It's true that I couldn't shake the game has some aesthetic similarities with Fortnite, which might seem strange. I even tried several times to chop down furniture for supplies, which you can't do in Drakehollow, but it's not a bad thing though. The game looks great and it holds a lot of character in the designs. Each map you visit consists of 20 or so islands to explore. You set off to find the food for your drakes and find more drakes along the way. Then you want to age them up, but to do that you need to fight monsters or the aether infection to get crystals. But the bigger the drakes get, the more they need to eat, drink, and keep entertained, so you need to collect resources and recipes to expand your base. I've not even mentioned curio crafting, defending against raids, or just getting across the seas, so it's safe to say you rarely run out of things to do. To secure resources in good number, you need to set up supply chains across the map. Beams of light connect waypoints between supply trucks and a base, across any distance. Building my first supply chain was when I discovered one of my favorite parts of the game. You can skate along the light beams, high speed, high altitude highways of light that let me live out my skater dreams. Hell yeah. One of Drakehollow's main draws is that it offers co-op play. Up to 4 players can play together, fight together, build together, and explore the realm together. Unfortunately, there is currently no matchmaking server, so co-op is strictly bring your own. But if no one will join you, or you simply prefer to run solo, the developers have made sure the experience is still robust and engaging. Most of my playtime has been on my own. Plus, in a world full of adorable magic plant people, are you ever truly alone? I need to take a moment to say how much I adore the character creation in Drakehollow. I change my look and outfit each time I open the game to play. Honestly, it's not like the most detailed system, but the visuals are beautiful and the choices on offer delight me. Your hair can be in any bright color, the available skin tones run the full spectrum, and every option for the character is gender neutral, which is surprisingly rare. The soundtrack for Drakehollow is no less than I'd expect from the studio. Its composer, Walter Sickert, crafted several different instruments to create the specific sounds of the hollow. This mixes with the sound effects to form a magical world. The best part of the sounds is the little noises that the drakes make when you interact with them. Adorable little chirps and buzzes. I've played through the campaign twice within a week of the game's release, and I was worried I would run out of things to do. Thankfully, they quickly released sandbox mode, with cosmetics to unlock and no end to the fun. The Molasses Flood's previous game, Flame in the Flood, was a spectacular survival game and easily in my top games I've ever played. So I've been looking forward to Drake Hollow since before it was even announced, and they didn't let me down. I really love Drake Hollow. They've once again crafted a magical world, a captivating journey, and an engaging craft system with more on offer in every way. More to explore, more to build, and more cute little Drake friends.
They are so adorable.
Right?
They look like really cute chibi, like fairy turnip people.
Yeah. Or like little baby onion cabbages.
And they're
Things.
so helpless.
I
They're so
want
bad
to
at
protect
life.
them.
Yeah.
I want to just like carry them in my arm. Maybe like I'll harvest them in a basket and we'll go off on a little adventure and I'll make sure nothing bad ever happens to them and I'll build them a little house.
Oh,
That's the game. You make sure nothing bad happens and you build them a little house.
That's perfect.
it's a very typical Maylee game, actually.
Yeah.
I see you playing this and thoroughly enjoying it.
And it is a very beautiful game. I also love that style.
Yeah,
The art style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it does.
very-
It is very reminiscent of Fortnite,
It's like
but a little bit more kind of like clay, I guess.
yeah, it's kind of like sculpted. It feels very
Yeah.
organic, and the thing I
Less
like about it,
polish, like a AAA game polish.
it's
sort of
very
thing.
clean.
Yeah.
You know, makes it very easy for me to see things instead of like just being like 10 billion blades of grass, and I get very overwhelmed by all the blades of grass. I like grass, but like sometimes I just don't need 10,000 blades of grass.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I've never
Speak to
needed.
the cows. I think they'd say differently. So it's fair to say, Maylee, that Molasses Flood is your favorite developers, yeah? Up there?
Well, no, they're not.
Oh,
That's actually
you just love their games. I just thought,
no.
you just must be.
They're really good. Like they've only put out these 2 games so far, but I really loved both of these games. Both of the games felt very unique and very like calming as an experience.
So it's like a relaxing and game experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it also seems quite deep as well. Like, was it Flame in the Flood?
Yeah.
Yeah, Flame in the Flood was also quite, there's like sort of deep, I guess sort of elements to it as well. That you know, so it's good to see that there's like a diverse sort of meaning to these sweet, relaxing experiences as well, that you can also dive into it quite on an emotive level,
Yeah.
which is cool. It has come to the end of Z Games now. It's been a really jam-packed episode. I hope you've enjoyed it, because I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we talked about so much.
Yeah, we talked about so much.
It's been good.
If you like Z Games as much as we do, you should head over to the Z Games Facebook page at ZEDGamesAU. We put all the links up there to the news each week if you've missed the first half of the episode or whatever. And we also put links up there to our written reviews that we talk about as well in studio. And we also post our podcast. So if you like to listen to us and maybe you missed an episode here and there and you'd like to catch up on all that we do, head over to our Facebook page, because that's going to link you straight to our website where we've got everything. Yeah, but apart from that, thank you for tuning in again. On that note, bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Hold on, there's a button. Thanks for listening to Z Games. If you'd like to listen to more, check out our podcast on Spotify or follow us on social media at ZEDGamesAU. See you next time.